What's up? What's up? This is your girl Tori, and I'm talking with the one and only the Renazance. What's up? How you doing?
Everything is beautiful on my side of town, dear. How about yourself?
I am great. I am lovely. And of course, what I want to do is spread some love and
Right.
positivity on social media. And I said, what better way to start? We're in the month of Thanksgiving, not only just for the month
Right.
of November, but we also have to remind ourselves to constantly be thankful every day that God allows us to see. So that's why I changed the little ticker at the bottom. It says
Mm-hmm.
stay humble and remain grateful. A lot of people don't understand when you remain grateful and humble at all times, your blessings will
Man.
flow.
Yeah. Sounds like my studies. I've been reading as a Psalms 37 was given to me by a friend of mine. And when I kept reading it, it was like the people who remain humble will always be grateful. Think about it. So it's like you don't have to compare yourself to anyone else. You just keep looking at it. I'm laughing because when I wake up every morning, my little beginning meditation is right here on the wall, and it says, "Stay humble, always be thankful, just breathe, keep shining, and dream." But the first two are about humble and grateful. So what a way to begin, every morning. That's how I do it.
Right. And my days start at 5 a.m. every day.
Ooh, one of them early birds. So,
5 a.m. That's the first thing I do is to say my prayers. And I'm actually, believe in praying for others as well. And my thing is when I pray for others, especially when God places on my heart to pray for others, I don't tell that person that I'm praying for them. So that's
it's
one of
not
the things
necessary.
that I do.
Yeah. It's not necessary to let people know that you are in agreement with them for their benefit and for their health, because it's something that it's something that we're supposed to do innately, And Tori, as you said, that goes to that being thankful or being grateful, and it's just it has to be a lifestyle. And let me
Yeah.
just say that first because it says it well. They make it sound so easy. It's not. This is like 6, 7 years of training myself, like mentally every day. And when you said something earlier, I wonder how many people in this audience have what I call a morning routine. And you said yours starts at 5. Well, my last few years of teaching, I remember I would wake up, Tori, every morning at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. I'd have to be able to work for like another hour and a half, but I was awake. So I didn't know what to do with the time, you know? And see,
Yeah.
what do you do with your time? Like you said, you pray and what else?
I
What do you
pray.
do?
I start out with prayer. I do daily devotionals. And I have a list of things that
Hmm.
I do as far as, we all have those specific things that we want to ask God for.
Right.
And especially when people are specifically placed on my heart, I immediately go and to start to pray for that person. And there's some people that are placed on my heart. I don't specifically know their need, but I said, God, you know what their need is. And I just go
Mm.
from there and just let my day flow. Not only that, for me, writing is very therapeutic. So I also keep a journal. I also keep a pen handy where I'm constantly writing at all times. I think that's very, very necessary because us poets, we can have one word thought and it'll just flow like that. So that's what we're doing. That's what
Oh,
it's all about.
you know what? And this is kind of like something just to do up the top of the dome, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I want to. It's like a poetry, but I call it like a prayer. So
Okay.
it's just what I would use to open up anything. And it says, as we gather here at the same place and same time, spiritually, let's get on a chord. Let's all fall in line. I am the philosophical, lyrical, rushing mighty wind, blowing metaphors and similes, Tori, creating mental tailspins. Now, what seems to get in our way? Hashtags, live matter slogans are our own foot every day. How are we so easily retired, tripping over cordless microphone wires? Well, today, family, I'm Renaissance. Let me be the spark to ignite your fire. Amen.
Right. Snap, snap, snap.
Yeah,
I
I
love
remember.
it.
Yeah, I remember that was like something because the first book and you use that word is flow.
Hmm.
And you say, yeah, when you get with this morning meditation and this thing, your day flows. And Tori, that's why my first book was called Flow in 12 Steps, because God had to take me through so many things and I was hard headed, but I was listening. So I found out by listening to him my life started to flow. And even when things went crazy, and Tori, I got stories upon top of stories that, as long as I did that morning routine and started my day off with him, thinking about others, he the rest of the day just flowed. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a gift. And I took every day and I've learned to live that way. So when I share this, I want people, when they're listening, to understand that it just starts with taking the first step. God will do the rest.
He
And
does.
I mean, it really, I've seen it happen too many times and shared it with people. They're like, wow, wow. It's nothing magnificent. It's just about being diligent, you know?
And being obedient. Being very
Mm.
obedient.
Using a strong word out there for our family out there. We don't want to get
You
into the
gotta be
obedience.
obedient. I'm not saying perfect, but obedient. Here's the thing. People think that when you decide to follow Christ and do things that's uplifting the kingdom, that you're going to be perfect. None of us are going to be perfect because there's things that I'm still struggling with. But it's a process where you are dying to your flesh daily. It's so important that we
Mm,
die to our flesh daily. And one of the
mm,
things, and I will be transparent, one of the things that like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not holier than thou, but one of the things that I struggle with, just like we were talking before I went on air, I struggle with overeating sweets. And like I was telling you
mm.
prior to us going live, since my son's birthday, I kind of got off track because I stopped eating sweets. But for his birthday, I ate some sweets, and I'm guilty of still eating a little bit. So I'm
It's
probably
so, yeah.
gaining some weight again. But one of the things I'm guilty of, gluttony. That's what it's called in the Bible. It's
Yeah,
gluttony.
it's just,
Yeah.
I see this every day around me, and it's a sad thing because as a people, when you said about being humble and grateful, if you're humble and grateful, gluttony, it shouldn't seep in, but it can because we live in a society where we get dependent upon certain things,
Mhm.
sugar, certain drugs, certain relationships, certain things that seem to give us some comfort when we. But in the end, it's like, does it really give us comfort, or does it really give us eternal peace? And that's
Right.
where I battle within myself because so many times trying to be obedient. Oh, I messed up. I was in the church on the choir, and it was like I was just trying to follow these lists of rules, and I lost the relationship because I was following a law, and it was like ah. But then somehow I learned about relationships, and that's why even now. I remember when you started first working with me at Cumulus, and it was like, wow, I said, she's going to be okay. And I can see you now, and the confidence and the understanding like, look, okay, I ate too many sweets, I need to cut back. It's still called self-discipline because you can say I can see my errors and I can
Mhm.
fix my errors. These are my errors. These are not Marlon's or Renaissance. This is not hers or his. This is mine because we each
Mhm.
have our own set of disciplines that our Father gives us. And see, we try to make them 10 commandments be everybody commandments, and that's a sadness. It causes people to live lives and mess it up,
Right.
backslide, and all the
Right.
words I heard when I was growing up. And people lose confidence in their relationship with God. That's what I see happen to a lot of us. We lose that relationship.
And what you just made me think that just like God gives us grace, we have to give people grace.
Oh my gosh.
So many
Yeah.
times we don't want to give people grace, but God gives us grace all the time. So it's so important for us to give people grace because, like I did a podcast, I don't know if it was the last podcast I did, but I was saying how God had to show me because I was holding on to a lot of hurt and pain. And I was realizing I was hurting myself because I was saying that I would forgive, but I realized it was me
Mm.
that was prolonging my healing process because I was holding on to the pain. So once I let it go and just let it freely, I've been at peace ever since. And that's
Amen.
a beautiful thing. Like I said, I struggle with the eating the sweets, but you're right. It's all about having discipline. I'm getting better.
Yeah. And see,
I'm not
that's where the obedience comes in. You're mentioning earlier for people who don't run the church or didn't run the church a lot. It doesn't mean you will not make mistakes. It means you are accountable of my mistakes that I won't let it keep happening. Where
right.
it's 3 years, 5 years, now it's 10 years, and the same thing is happening, and you're wanting to blame some public official or somebody else for what you're doing continuously.
Right.
And the biggest thing I would say for anyone out there who's listening is, if you want to change anything, don't try to change it all at once. Like if you have low self-confidence and you're overweight, don't fix them both at the same time. No, no, no. Take your time. Work on one thing for a certain amount of time,
Right.
and gain confidence in that one thing. If it's walking on a track for 3 times a week and doing it for 6 weeks, make yourself disciplined. No matter what happens, stay on task and just do it to see what happens. You work two weeks to get a paycheck, don't you?
Yeah.
Why don't you work 3 weeks to pay yourself some happiness?
Right.
It keeps going on, because once you get that little smile like I have right now, I can just think it brings more smiles, and it brings your smile, and the people out there watching right now, guess what they're doing? They're like, why are they smiling so much?
Right.
It's
Right.
contagious. So just like obedience is contagious, so is the other thing.
Right. Right.
So
And also, what we're talking, I apologize for cutting you off, but the other thing that we're talking about prior to going live is I'm guilty of sometimes worrying about other people before I worry about Tori. And I'm adjusted now that everything that I give to people, like all of my love, all of my understanding, all of my caring, and all of that, I'm learning now in my 44 years of living that all that stuff I give to other people, I can give it to Tori.
You know what? That is the first, and that's why this, this book that I wrote, it's called You See That Finger?
Yes.
It's intentional, because I want people to see that finger, because it means you owe you every single day. And if you work at that just as much as you work at somebody else's job or somebody else's relationship or what they say you should do to make you happy, then you'll begin to get some happiness where now it's shared with other people. When I worked in the classroom, I'm going to share with you, and your son was in the building and he heard about it, and I was supposed to be some strict teacher. But when they walked in the classroom and saw that it wasn't about rules, it was about understanding these are borders we have to work within. If you do these things, I'll help you get this done, and we'll both end this session with some things that positively affected us. And guess what? After about 2 weeks, they were like, oh, it ain't that bad. It's not that. And then they started learning. And then that's just, I felt like, that's what I wish a lot of adults would start to do. Just take the time to be able to sit back and listen and say that someone else can help guide me. That don't take your hands off the wheel, because it's still your path. You get me?
Right.
Yeah, you still got to do your thing. But that You Owe You book is really epitomizes everything you're talking about. I want people to celebrate themselves. They're beautiful. And ask me why, Tori. Ask me.
Why? Tell us why.
They're beautiful because of all the imperfections. Understand your eating and your things you mentioned about you, things about me. I even wrote in the book about how I wore contact lenses for 10 years. And people were like, okay, are those your eyes? And I would be like, yeah, they my eyes. I did it so long. People really believe me. My father, his name was Kit. So it made it seem like my eyes had, that little hazel look. So it went well. And the lie went over. And I indulged myself, and I overindulged. I was gluttonous.
Right.
I ate so much I didn't know what to do with it, that I was dissatisfied until I became me again and took back all the additions and the things and began to just focus on the small things.
Right.
And that's what, I pray that this message that we share gets people to try to just not fix all of their problems in one day, but fix one problem for 7 days. Then it's accomplished, and fix another one for the next 7 days. Small.
Yeah.
But get success.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say 7 days increments, because I would say 21 days.
Oh, I was gonna get there.
It would be a lifestyle change. If you can do something consistently for 21 days,
breaks new habits.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a
yeah,
lifestyle. And it's
yeah.
like I've been doing the getting up 5 o'clock in the morning for the past, I want to say 5 years now.
Yeah, I'm about there with you. Probably since about 2015 it started happening, and
Yeah.
at that point I knew, and I started studying later, and I found out that's a sign of an entrepreneur, which I people throw that word around too much nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say I have the financial wealth, but I have the mental aptitude.
Mm-hmm.
Now that means the money is coming after me. I'm just going
Hmm.
ahead. That's just,
Yeah.
and I wish people could really simplify their lives. And what is beautiful to you, if I may ask? I know it's your show, but tell me what's a beautiful thing. I don't care what analogy or what you compare it to. What's beautiful to you?
What is beautiful to me is being able to wake up in the morning, and just have perfect peace, and just looking around and seeing all the many blessings that God bestows for us. Because sometimes we're so focused on what we don't have that we lose sight of what's truly important. Because I've learned that once I start focusing on what I don't have and I start being grateful for what I do have, my
Hmm.
life is so peaceful. I
Oh,
surround myself with positive people. I surround myself. There was a time where I would have people around me that I'm constantly pouring into, and they're not pouring into me.
hmm.
Now I have a group of people that not only am I pouring into them, but they're also pouring into me, because I found myself being around people that wasn't pouring into me. I used to find
Hmm.
myself depleted and my energy
Right.
was drained. But now I'm at peace. And what is
Hmm.
so beautiful, peace to me is such a beautiful thing. To
Oh,
wake up
it's-
with happiness, just to say, Lord, thank you for allowing me to see another day. That is the beauty of it all.
yeah.
And to know that none of us are perfect, but to know if nobody else loves me, he loves me. To
That's enough.
know that if I don't get it right today, I have hopefully tomorrow, as long as he keeps waking me up, I still have the opportunity to get it right.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's the beauty for me, to just
Yeah.
breathe and just to be grateful. That's just beauty
Mm.
within itself. And I love, this may not be, I know I'm probably different from most people, but I love to see other people happy. Seeing other
Oh,
people
that's
happy
good.
makes me happy. And if I
That's
do something to make somebody happy, that's
uh-huh.
beautiful to me as well.
Yeah, I know. And so, and in today's toxic society, we've allowed these things to come through where sometimes we'll speak. So a lot of people I know, they go in stores, they don't speak to anyone because they're on not defense, but they're guarded to see how this person feels about them being in this place where they are. Like we all coexist on the same place at the same time. So
Mhm.
we might as well go ahead and learn that the quickest thing is that we can only do this together.
Right.
And I stress that because there's so much divisiveness. And I know there are people who say, well, I got the remedy and I have the remedy. Well, Tori, a lot of people have the remedy, but it goes back to seeing beautiful things. And the reason why it's a question, when I see beauty, is in nature. And when I watch sunrises or mountain peaks or trees, or when I watch the squirrels get their little morning rock on, the birds fly by and eat all the figs on the trees, and I see how they're just so happy, that's beautiful to me. When I see a kid make his first jump shot and he's like, oh, the excitement he feels, that's beautiful. There are people who are beautiful, but I found beauty in nature so easy because it's all around us. How many
Right.
of us? How many of us stop? I'm not a tree hugger, as they used to call me, but I love nature. You can
Mhm.
tell.
Yeah.
And in my studies, I heard God uses nature to teach man's lessons that we'll never look at on our own.
Right.
Think
Then
about this. But think about how many people watch or sit back, and some people tell me they sit around and they watch ants. So I enjoy that because other people find nature soothing. So we're on the same plane. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
right, right. Let me ask you this question. What advice would you give to the younger generation that's coming up now? Like the kids that are like my son's age. My son is 15, just had a birthday and he just turned 15. What
Wow.
advice would you give that younger generation that's coming up? Because they have so many things at their
Hmm.
disposal. Because when we were coming up, we did not have the internet. Some of us, I don't think I got a cell phone till I was like in my 20s. Like, but now they have so many things at their disposal to, uh I think a lot of thing is missing, like as far as, to me, this is my opinion, with all the
Understandable.
the social media and all that. I think it's missing with the kids don't know how to grow out. Some kids, not all. Some kids don't know how to just go outside and just enjoy nature, like you said. Some of them want to be on social media, be on playing video games. What advice would you give to the youth of the day, the generation, with all the things that they have at their disposal?
And this for them, because they are, when I say addicted to having this thing in their hand or their pocket, they really are.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I can't really discourage them because that's their generation and that's how they think things are.
Mm-hmm.
However, I remember when Hurricane Matthew came to Florence and people didn't have the cells for a little bit, people were going nuts. So because they wanted to have their phones charged up just so they can text a person that they would not see at school. And I was like, wow. So they would run to the car, plug in the car charger just to have power on their cell phone so they can text somebody who they can't see because the storm had us incapacitated for about 3 to 5 days. You know, it's like if you're so dependent upon it, if you can't live without it, then that means it's something that's a distraction. If you allow to distractions to be that, then they will keep your attention away from everything else. Think about that. And what do they do? I mean, whether it's the cell phone or their apps or them trying to be very creative and, from gaming, there's so much going on. And I don't knock them for doing it, but I'll say, if you can go outside for about 5 minutes and put it down, could you just sit there and enjoy 5 minutes without it? If you can't take 5 minutes away, then it's a problem. Because if you
Right.
can take 5 minutes away today, you can do it tomorrow. And in 7 days, you spent 30 minutes. Now, you still have a whole bunch of hours to do whatever you so choose with your technology. But 5 minutes, if you don't have 5 minutes for yourself, who ends up losing? That's my question. And I know
Right.
them, the little kids in the classroom are like, Mr. Mitch, you always got to be so smart. But who loses?
Right.
Because even though they think they're gaining, essentially they will lose. And they know that. Because Mrs. Torrey, I talk to them too much in the classroom. They know. They know exactly what they're doing. They're using it to compensate so they don't have to talk to people anymore. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, so interaction, don't worry. Things are going to go back to a point where this is the only way we interact. We're going to be able to not have the video phones anymore. Can we just talk to people?
Right.
I
Right.
have, I have a 70-year-old aunt. She's like, just hit me up and call me on a FaceTime. I'm thinking like, I don't like the FaceTime. I was like, huh? I was like, no. I said, she said, well, yeah. I said, I'm old school.
Yeah.
And Tori, I'm not so old school where I don't appreciate it. I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the video phones if I need to talk to someone I haven't seen in a long, long time. Yeah. But to someone I'm frequently on the phone with, sorry. I'm
Right.
sorry. They're gonna be like, that man, oh. I'm like, I want to be able to see you without looking at you, so I can see your words without watching your lips move. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Oh,
Sounds
I know.
sounds strange. I know, but
No, a poet understands. We see visions with our words, so I know exactly where you're going to with that.
yeah. But
Um,
I was looking at something, and if I may, if you don't mind, please indulge me. This was the book that I just recently wrote, and I can just say this part that I want to read just for a little brief, and you can ask me anything you want to because I want people to hear these words that were written for us,
okay.
not for me to just be rich, but for us. And it says, in my rigid Southern culture's town, the acceptance of mediocrity with no change screams louder than the freedom to live and love life. Well, I must say we have a black mayor in our city now, so people are starting to move forward. But neglect for oneself is a crime punishable by low achievement. When I wrote that, I just kept thinking about the people who would like to pursue better lives. who would like to have a better, better job or career, but they're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
But they owe themselves so much more. And,
Yeah.
and and I want them to understand that in this town I grew up in, I felt the same way, but I decided to change my mind. I was like, can't do it.
Right.
No, and I'm not finished yet. In my
Yeah.
40 plus years, the name Renaissance means rebirth.
Yeah.
So guess what happens every day, Miss Tori? I'm reborn.
Every day.
And I
Yeah.
start fresh with that peace we mentioned earlier.
Right.
Yeah, that peace that surpasses all understanding.
There's nothing like it.
No,
Now,
there's
here's
nothing.
my other question to you. What advice I talk about, ask you, what advice would you give to the kids? And for you and I both, we already know that for the both of us, it's very important for us to be on the spiritual journey. What would you say to that man or that woman who who are in the world and living in the world? Of course, we can't put our beliefs, what we believe, on anyone, but
Definitely.
if people are living in the world, what advice would you give them to try to not necessarily be on the same spiritual level that we are on, but to just
Start the
live
journey.
life and, and just be on a positive journey? Because I believe in just positivity. Because I can't be around people that are negative at all. I have zero tolerance these days for negativity. So what do you say to those people that are just living life in there? Because I mean, there's some people that are hurting people with no remorse. I can't believe that that's still happening, but it's still happening in the world that we're living in.
Yeah, and it goes back to what, just like with that child, we got to think that every day we get out and we go to work, we get paid, and our work is not just our physical job that we do for these 8 hours. It's what happens in those other hours that we're not working. Like, how are you treating people? I mean, I'm gonna get blunt with you because I just can't. I don't see them running to a church. I'm gonna just be blunt with you and everybody else. I don't see you coming to no church, do you? Because that's why I do this podcast called Tell It Like It Is. And this week, what I asked him to do was to dwell. And dwell, as I mentioned in the podcast, is not a once or twice opportunity. It's like an everyday hustle. If you know with the inside of yourself right now, and you're watching the screen, and you know that you're living a life where you're physically happy, but you're not spiritually happy, and you don't feel appreciated when you look in the mirror, then there's something that we can help fill that gap. You may say, Renaissance, there is no gap. Yes, there is. You feel it every night when you go to sleep. You feel that void. And the only way, and pastors told me I had to go get down, and Tori, I got baptized in an old creek, a literal creek. With
Wow.
Yeah, so I had the old fashioned way of being repentance. But I learned that it's an act that's not necessarily required. But if you're out
Right.
there listening right now, it's about you making a commitment and understanding the obedience that Tori and I mentioned earlier. It starts with taking the first step, not a perfect step, but the first step. And if you're out there right now, I'll ask you to get in touch with Tori or get into my podcast. It's called Tell It Like It Is. Find out how our social media information, and let's talk more, because once you start reading, you start understanding that things are changing. And things are changing, and some people have insight and some people just running their mouth. The people running their mouth, they're getting a few earthly dollars, but they're not really changing anybody. And if you want your life changed, I promise you, my father changed everything about me. I found my book last night when I got saved, and I remember when I got saved, I would be blunt with you and people out there because I want to keep it real. I just got left Win 106, the station I worked at. Went to this MTV interview, got flat out turned down, did not even speak to me. And I was so crushed. Had a little friend in Charlotte, so I got on 85, drove to Charlotte. In fact, she was at the interview with me, but we bonded. We went home that night, and I thought it was going to be, in between the sheets. Well, about 11 o'clock, I started crying because I felt like I hit a bottom. And that bottom was a place that I had never been before. My mom couldn't help me. I was on the bathroom floor crying. And I was like, there's only one person I know who can fix me now. And I cried out to the person I've been crying out to, faking in church for 10 years. and
Right.
he answered my call right then on the floor. And when I say he answered my call, it changed my entire life. Not perfect, but boy, does it feel a lot better. And I don't miss anything. I don't miss parties and that's what I kept fearing. Being on the radio, you like to party, you like to drink and all this other stuff. I was like, I'm gonna miss all that. I'm gonna miss all the concerts, and I really realized I was missing nothing at all. I had everything I need. So if you're out there listening, stay humble, remain grateful. Contact one of us, fall on your knees right now. Give your life to the person you know who saved you. You never have to see him. You never have to see his father. All you have to do is close your eyes and he'll be there for you.
And that's the beauty of God. No matter how far we stray from him, he's always there welcoming us with open arms. And I was one of those people that I used to feel so invisible to people. I
Mm.
used to feel unheard, that I would say things to people and they didn't hear what I had to say. And I just had someone tell me just yesterday, they don't know how they made me feel, but I had someone tell me just yesterday that, sometimes we should not look for accolades for people, but sometimes we need that, because sometimes when we be feeling at our lowest, sometimes we need that pep talk. But I
Mm-hmm.
had someone just to tell me just yesterday, Tori, do you realize how special you are? Do you realize how genuine you are? Do you realize that your prayers, every time you have prayed for me, because like they'll come to me and ask me to pray specific things.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, every time I've asked you to pray for me, it came to pass. He's like, do you
Mm.
have a direct line to God? I'm like, no, it's just that when I pray, I don't believe in playing with God.
Amen. But see, that's the first thing about those people who were listening. When I fell on that floor, it wasn't because I had been turned down by MTV. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't because the girl turned me down or what, because she was fine, but she was on the floor with me crying too.
Wow.
I mean, we were both thinking we were going to have a great night. We were both on the floor crying about our sins, and I'm sitting here like, hold up, this
Right.
this ain't never happened before to me. I'm
Right.
this guy. No, this
Right.
this supposed to be going another way right now.
Right.
But but God took that moment to let
Mhm.
me know that there was a shift,
Yes.
and there's a shift still coming. Yes, we have quote unquote the president elect, but just like I heard them say, it starts with the grassroots level. It starts with the local politicians and that stuff. But I'm gonna go further. It starts with the people out there, the young folks out there right now. I need them 15, those 15 to 28-year-olds to start listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
Try it for 21 days. Don't care about your friends. Don't worry about, because you say you ain't got no pride. Well, if you have no pride, take the step. And
Right.
if they don't take the step with you, you take your step. Because
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, every day is beautiful. You don't have to worry about looking behind your back in your corner. Who gonna? No, ain't gonna worry about the warrants and all this other craziness.
Right. Right.
Yeah, if anything, we're worried about those enemies who be trying to keep you from closing your mouth from sharing His word. If I can get it
Right.
out right, excuse
Right.
me.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting that we having this conversation because I really didn't know where we're going, but I found a book last night that I wrote when I first got saved in 2001. When I wrote what I told
Mm-hmm.
you about, I
Yeah.
found I found that book last night and I started reading, and the things I was writing then are relevant now,
Right.
and I'm going to take those treasures and I'm going to share them with everybody I can, every time I can, until they love Him as much as I do. And if they
Right.
don't, that's fine. I'm gonna just keep loving them more.
Right. Right.
So,
Right. And here's the other thing, because I don't want to take too much of your time. Tell everyone, if they decide to reach out to you personally, all your social media handles, and also about all the books that you have.
wow, wow, wow. Well, I've used my first book was called Outlook. It was a book of spiritual portraits. You would like it. I mean, I just wrote all about um, things that I was going through from
Mhm.
my spiritual transition back into, his fold. And it was just such a different thing. So I wrote a lot of different stories. It's called Outlook. The one
Mhm.
that I really love is called Flow in 12 Steps. And it is a beautiful book. It's kind of a poetic style book, but it's honestly quick, easy reading with very chewy material, meaning you can't just read it one time and get it. You
Right.
can if you can try it,
Right.
but you're gonna need more than one time. And I just finished the book Fear. That's the one that's out. That's gonna be my baby. That's the greatest show on earth. That's what they use. False evidence appearing real, and it's about all these things. I just want to pull back the mask because I want our young folks out there because a lot of people, my friend, they've given up on these people.
Right.
They've given up on your son's age and people they've given up. And I'm like, nah, we can't.
No.
We can't. They're too important. And if today I pray they get this, you are important to me. I don't care if you're out there running around smoking that blunt right now or doing what you got to do, but I promise you, you're important to me. I need to talk to you. Let's talk about what it is that says you can be better, do better, and live better. Because
Right.
it's a beautiful thing. That's all I can tell you. It's like, yeah, don't worry about the cars and jewelries and all that stuff. That's it passes away.
Right. It
But
does.
yeah, yeah.
It
So
really does. And
so
I am great. I will publicly say that I'm grateful for you because you and some other folks that have taken my son under your wing, and he feel comfortable reaching out to you guys at any given time. So I want to publicly say that I appreciate you because you're one of those people that he feel comfortable talking to. And I am grateful because, of what, sixth, seventh grade, six is sixth, seventh, and eighth grade
sixth
year.
grade, yeah.
Woo! Boy,
Yeah,
was it
those are the middle years. Yeah, and there was a reason. It was a reason why when I left the radio station after all that crying on the floor, the
yeah,
next place I was placed was in the classroom with those same kids, emotional wrecks.
yeah,
They
yeah,
coming in there with hormones and everything else. So it was a real interesting time. So I'm thankful for every year I taught, and I'll share this. I learned so much from every student. Every single one of them taught me. As an adult, they enjoyed teaching me. So guess what they did? They learned from me. As
mhm,
adults, we get beyond our little, I know everything, I can do everything. My quick short story. My cousin, she has a little daughter, and her son was doing something bad. And they were like, "Stop before we cut you behind." And she was like, "Oh no," she said, "Stop it! You're crying too much. I'm gonna give you something to cry for." And she said, "Well, mommy, why didn't you ask him why is he crying?"
wow, wow,
See, some of us can't take that.
right,
But if you out there, you can take that. Yeah. Why is that? Because
right,
God loves everybody out there. And I can promise you, whatever you're leaving behind, just think about what you have ahead. And in fact, He meets you in the NOW, the now.
right,
And if you're in the now, you WON. You won.
right. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we have definitely got to do this again.
Oh, definitely. Oh, I didn't even share, but they can look me up on Facebook. That's the easiest way because if you go to Facebook, it'll have my other social media outlets. It's called Trey Tory. And maybe I'll put it in the chat box or something like that. Or maybe you can, but it's TRE space TORRE. Don't
I'll put it
worry.
in that.
Yeah, she'll do that for you. But stay in touch with me, folks. I really want to get this book out to you. I don't care where you are. Understand, fear will no longer apprehend us because the opposite of fear is love, and
Mhm.
you owe you. Put the book. You owe you. Get some love.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Like I said, we definitely got to do this again because, like folks, when I come live, nothing is ever scripted. We just go by how the Father leads us.
It's called the flow.
The flow. And I think that's the best way to be. Just let it
Yeah,
flow.
yeah. I learned that since the radio station because when you flow, you don't know what you're going to say, but if you say the things that your spirit gives you, it'll breathe life into people. So let's just keep breathing life. Thank you for the time. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, audience. I hope they can deal with me, but I just deal with you because I love you. I don't even know who you are, but I love you. And this message is going to change your life and mine. So thanks, Tori.
You're more than welcome. Well, thank you guys for listening. And of course, I will upload this to my podcast as well. That is also, we're actually streaming live on 3 different platforms, YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook. But I'm also going to upload it to my podcast. It's going to be on additional 8 other platforms. So keep it locked. There's more on the way. And Renazance, listen, if you got a message out of this, just hang on to your seats, for more is on the way. Just get ready. More is on the way, is all I'm going to say. All right, Renazance, it's been a pleasure. We definitely got to do this again, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Peace.